Kia ora everyone, and welcome to another episode of Storby's Little Big Business, where we give you tips and tricks on how to make your little business be big. I'm Ruben, and stoked to be talking to you today about motivation. What goes into making your team motivated and how you can help them to get the most out of their time at work. Motivation is an interesting thing. What we wanted to go through was where motivation comes from, when it's going well, when it's not going so well, and give you some things that you can be thinking about if you're trying to up the motivation in your team or just keep them humming along at a really good pace. First thing that you want to be thinking about is where it comes from. There's two broad categories of motivation, and that's internal versus external. So that internal motivation is really important for understanding your individual team members and making sure that you're providing them with what they need to feel like they're doing a really good job, like they're connected in with their workplace, and that they really want to be there and it's moving them towards where they want to be in life. The other side of it is those external motivations. Essentially, it's everything other than what we've talked about. It's the things like recognition, rewards, or awards. It's those things that really exist outside of who we are as people and relate more to how we interact with the rest of the world. These two are quite opposite, but they do cross over a lot. And it's important that the things that we're getting externally align with the things that motivate us internally, but the way we go about that is quite different for the two types. If you saw our earlier episode when we talked about performance reviews, we dived into this idea of strengths. Playing to your strengths when you're at work can make a really massive difference to feeling really good and feeling like you're doing a good job. And that really is what you want to be thinking about when it comes to that internal motivation. Understanding what makes your staff tick on an individual level, then you're going to have a good basis for making sure that you can tap into those strengths and make sure that people are in a place where they can really play to those. And then the external motivations can play into that as well. If you've got someone who's really feels motivated internally by feeling like they're doing a good job, then going out of your way to recognize when they have is a really simple thing you can do to align with that internal value. They know that you appreciate it and recognize it, and it's going to really increase that overall connection with the work they're doing. However you go about it, it's really important to think on an individual level when it comes to that motivation and not just go for that cookie cutter, one size fits all. On the flip side of that, if we understand where motivation comes from, it's probably important to be at the same time avoiding the things that kill motivation. Now this is particularly important when we're thinking about key essential industries like pharmacy and vet, and other ones that are in this position where they're providing actually something that can in some cases be a life or death service. So you think someone who's got to handle prescriptions and make sure that you get the right dosage for literally life-saving medications for some people. Vets as well, having to perform surgery on sick animals and even in some cases put people's loved pets down. That's a really heavy thing to carry, and it's something that isn't really optional when it comes to those jobs. That's something that can really have an impact on motivation. It's really important to then have the space to be able to take some of that stress and some of that pressure off. Anything that you can do to alleviate pressure and create space is going to really help to avoid killing off that motivation that you're working really hard to create. The final point to think about is a concept that actually comes from economics, and it's this idea of specialization in trade. If you're not familiar, it's this economic concept where one country is really good, let's say, at producing wool, and they also produce milk, but they're kind of average at it. And then there's another country that's really, really good at producing milk, but their wool's it's a bit itchy and a bit meh. Both of those countries could continue creating both of those products and just supplying them locally. But there's this idea that international trade and then specialization works out better for everyone. So the first country, because they can produce better wool, would focus on producing that, and the second country would focus on producing really good milk. The result is that you actually end up spending less money, both countries can produce more of what they're really good at, and it means that everyone ends up with better quality products for less money. But if we bring that across to this idea of motivation, if you think about what people's strengths are, the more they're going to be able to specialize and produce better quality, more efficient work. Of course, this isn't always completely possible, and especially if you're a small, essential business, you're looking for people who can manage this and that and everything else. It may not be the entire job, but maybe it's just one thing that you can delegate to one person, because that job is going to get done really well. So it's one less thing for you to worry about whether it's getting done. You know, it's this idea that variety is the spice of life. Absolutely, that's true when it comes to TV shows or ice cream or whatever else. But sometimes actually specialization for a long-term thing that we're having to do day in, day out, especially if it's something that makes us feel energized and that we're good at, can make a massive difference to actually feeling much more motivated to do your job. So those are the 3 things that you're going to want to think about when it comes to creating that really good motivation amongst your team. Remember to like and subscribe, check us out on social media, jump on our mailing list as well if you want to get access to these episodes as soon as they come out, as well as other offers and things that we've got going around. And other than that, we'll see you next time. Ka kite.